Right, Monday, the 30th of December, 7:45 p.m. kickoff. Enzo Maresca's Chelsea take the trip to Portman Road to face Ipswich in the Premier League for the first time in over 20 years. And the last time that we played Ipswich in the Premier League, it was a stalemate, with the match ending 0-0 in a season where Ipswich were relegated. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really want history to repeat itself because, one, I don't really want Ipswich to be relegated. I actually quite like Ipswich. And two, I definitely don't want a stalemate. I would rather something more along the lines of what happened the last time we faced Ipswich, which was a 7-0 victory. I would settle for a 7-0 win. In fact, I'd be happy with a 7-0 win in this one if possible. No, but in all seriousness, we do need a reaction in this one. Teams that are vying for Champions League positions are allowed to have a bad week, a bad run of form where we get a point away at Everton and have a shock defeat at home to Fulham. But that is where the run must stop. And Enzo Maresca's Chelsea very, very much need a win on Monday night so that we can move away from the chasing pack, some of which are starting to gather real momentum, and so that at least for a couple of hours we can move back up above Arsenal in the league. However, a win is not just going to fall into our laps at Portman Road, or at least I believe it isn't. And despite me urging everyone to stay calm following the defeat to Fulham, I can also acknowledge that changes do need to be made. That could be in personnel, that could be from a tactical standpoint, and I'm going to try and answer and speak about those changes in today's video, as well as giving you guys my starting 11 pick, which last time out was bang on the money against Fulham. Remember, it's my preferred, not my predicted starting 11, and I'm also going to give you a lot of score prediction for this one. But people, before we get into all that, welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. If you are new around here, please do me a favour, smash the like button right now, hit the subscribe button so that you can see all the content coming out off of this page, and if you haven't already subscribed and you're a regular watcher of the channel, please do so. Let's get into it. Now, I said at the start of the video that I quite like Ipswich, and I'm going to tell you as to why I quite like Ipswich. And I think that we'd all probably admit that we've all got a bit of a soft spot for the Leicester side that did what no team ever before them had done, and in my opinion, no team after them will do, which is just about narrowly avoid relegation and then end up winning the Premier League. Nottingham Forest might have something to say about that this season. Who knows? Crazier things have happened. But before Leicester had ever really done that, it was more impressive just to avoid relegation than get a Champions League finish, something like that, something that wasn't really ever done, and Ipswich have never done that. But what I do remember about Ipswich is when I first got into football, I was probably about 5 or 6 years old, and that was the season that Ipswich came up from the Championship, the old second division or whatever it was back then, and not only did they come up from the Championship and do well, they did terrific in the Premier League, the FA Premier League, it was known at that time, before it was even the Barclays Premier League, and they took it to the final day of the season with Leeds in a bid as to who could secure 4th position and get Champions League football. Now, Leeds ended up on that final day winning, finishing 2 points ahead of Ipswich, but it really was remarkable, and it was one of the first times that I had seen something like that happen, and I was very, very young and impressionable at the time, so that's probably why I quite like Ipswich. Although this season hasn't really gone the way that Ipswich fans would have hoped, has it? Because after 18 games, so they still have just 2 wins to their name, which really doesn't make for good reading. I mean, you look at the likes of Man United, they've got 6 wins to their name already. So when you're looking at other teams in and around that sort of potential relegation mix, they've definitely got ground to make up on those around them for sure. And their 16 goals that they've scored so far this season means that only Everton and rock bottom Southampton have scored less than them this season. Their 10 defeats can only be worsened, again, by rock bottom Southampton and Wolves so far this season. I mean, even Man United have only lost 8 times this season. 4 of those losses come in within the sort of new manager bounce period that they're having at the moment, and he only started at the start of December. But anyway, I don't know why we keep getting on to Man United. We're talking about Ipswich today. Now, they're 19th for a reason, but I do always try and look at the positives, right? In life in general, but especially with teams that we're trying to get a win over, and I try and look at their strengths rather than their weaknesses. And when I do look at them, there is a lot to be excited about if you're an Ipswich fan. They're not out of the, chances of survival in this Premier League season. They have a young, exciting manager, Liam Delap. He looks like a good player, doesn't he? Amari Hutchinson, you're welcome. Thank you very much, Ipswich fans. He's a great player. And with the likes of those boys, they can definitely cause us problems. They can cause us threats. And they might even smell an air of vulnerability around Chelsea at this moment in time. Because this is probably the worst form we've had all season. And we've only lost one and drawn the one before. So that tells me that we're doing pretty well this season. But we have got an injury pile up. We have got a few disruptions, do we want to call it that, going on behind the scenes. Madueke, Mudryk, looking at you boys. Not to insinuate that Madueke's been up to the same stuff as Mudryk, and not to insinuate that Mudryk has even been up to any of that stuff. I did see him, by the way, out in Saudi, Mykhailo Mudryk. I doubt he really likes me, Mykhailo Mudryk, to be honest, because I have said that he's a bit average before a few times. But anyway, I know that this Chelsea side, regardless of who we have available and don't have available, just have too much quality for Ipswich. So it's about making sure that that quality is utilised. And depending on how this game's going, I'm going to want to see subs earlier on in this match. I'm going to want to see more of those substitutes, and I'm going to want to see those substitutes in different positions rather than just in Nkunku for Jackson, because I think that there were clear vulnerabilities that could have been addressed had you have gone to the bench in that last game against Fulham. And I will always counter it by telling you guys, I'm a fucking YouTuber, not a football manager. So Enzo Maresca definitely knows more than me. In fact, I would put my money on it. He's forgot more about football today than I even know. But what I do know is, despite scoring an absolute worldie against Fulham, teams have very much turned their attention to the best player in the Premier League, being Cole Palmer this season. They're doubling up on him, they're kicking him all over the place, and despite the numbers being really impressive, you could suggest that he's struggling a little bit more and he's finding things a little bit harder this season. And with that in mind, here is my starting 11. So we got Robert Sanchez in goal, Malo Gusto, Tosin Adarabioyo, Levi Colwell and Mark Cucurella. The pivot will remain as it has been in Caicedo and Enzo, but you would imagine that Cucurella will push up either into that midfield or in some cases further on. Now the front line, we'll go in depth and we'll speak about this, but I am going Cole Palmer on the right wing. I am going João Felix central attacking midfield with Pedro Neto on the left wing and Nicholas Jackson through the middle. Now, I will start off with the goalkeeper, because people have pointed out to me that he played a hand in the goal that Fulham scored and whatnot, but at the same time, I don't think it was directly down to him. I'm hoping that that moment was something that he is overcoming, because I've been impressed by Robert Sanchez. Definitely his shot-stopping ability and just his judgment, really, in the last sort of 3-4 matches. I'm hoping it's not a flash in the pan. I'm hoping Enzo Maresca and the goalkeeping coaches at Stamford Bridge and whatnot are moulding him into the ball-playing goalkeeper that we really, really wanted to see. However, there's been periods of time during his Chelsea career when I've hoped this before and it hasn't fully come off. But for now, I'm sticking my faith in him. Now, Malo Gusto at right back. This is where I really had to actually go against what I want and kind of level it with what I feel is going to happen. And I want to make something very, very clear here, right? I do not want Malo Gusto in my team, if that makes any sense at all. I want him in my team. I love Malo Gusto, but I do think that only one of the fullbacks can really invert, push on in Cucurella's position, go into the number 9 and just be scoring headers ahead of Jackson. And the other one needs to kind of stay there. He doesn't really want to be bombing on as much, depending on how the game's going. Some circumstances, we might just be 3 goals ahead and you can do whatever you want. But for the most part, then when I look at that, I'm looking at Malo Gusto. And I actually think that Cucurella is a better fit to be the one that stays back. However, Cucurella is also a better fit to be the one that inverts. Cucurella is a better player than Malo Gusto at this moment in time, So when I look at Malo Gusto, I do think that he's a brilliant defender. He's a brilliant attacking outlet down that right-hand side, and he's very good one-on-one when he is defending. I think his defensive capabilities are a little bit unsung at times, and I think that we look at him as more of an attacking defender, whereas actually he's a hard man to beat. But I do believe that Joshua Changpong offers you a considerable amount more physicality in there and is more in the mould of a centre-back than a right-back. And the system that we're playing doesn't suit the right-back, let's say, of old, or even if you look at other teams, yeah? Let's say a Trent Alexander-Arnold. Maybe this system doesn't suit that as much. Maybe this system suits a Ben White more, if you get what I'm saying. And therefore, if Cucurella's going to bomb on, I want to see a Champong given minutes, because we know we'd be seeing Reece James given minutes in this situation, and I really do want to see a Champong. So I'm starting Gusto. I love Gusto, got absolutely no problem with it, but if a Champong was to play, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Now, an easy fix for things would be if Romeo Lavia was completely injury-free, and then we could maybe look at having Caicedo as the inverted one. Cucurella stays back a little bit more. Romeo Lavia really bolsters up that midfield. And the midfield is something that maybe me and Josh will touch on and speak about, because I do think there's a few areas of this squad that are a little bit, a little bit too many in some areas and a little bit too little in some areas also. But let's get on to the bit that I know that you're all going to be looking at, and that is the fact that Cole Palmer has been moved out to the right wing. And you may well raise some eyebrows when you see that, but you'd be wrong to raise those eyebrows, because he played right wing for 85-90% of last season, and he was the league's best player. What I think is that if a player of Cole Palmer's ability is anywhere on the pitch, he could be in goal, and they'll probably start trying to double up on him now, and I think that it might create more space through the middle. If they're going to do that, if we push him out to the wing and give a player like João Felix the sort of reins to roam free in that middle, then maybe we will see not only the best of João Felix, but a better version of Cole Palmer, where players start to realise, hold on, there's too much coming in here from Enzo, from Caicedo. If we're going on the Cole Palmer assist from Levi Colwell, too many of those line-cutting balls coming in here, and then Cole Palmer can have more success. And we know he likes to cut in on that left foot anyway. I would have Pedro Neto over on the other wing. I do believe that Pedro Neto is a player that can give us that X factor, that in wide positions, if we don't class Cole Palmer as a wide man, that, we can rely on week in, week out. I know he's had a couple of, not bad performances, but maybe by his standard, a little bit more underwhelming. But I'd be picking Pedro Neto at every opportunity, really. And especially if I'm having Cole Palmer out on that right wing. Cole Palmer he's known for a lot of things. He's maybe not known for his pace. I'm not saying he's slow, but what I'm saying is you need that pace up the other side. You definitely do. And do you know what? If you're looking at Jackson and you're thinking, well, hold on, he's missed a couple of opportunities and whatnot, would you have Nkunku in there? I wouldn't be averse to Nkunku starting, but I would be averse to him starting in the 9. Nkunku is not a number 9. I've got the data now. I've seen it. I've been there, done it, worn the t-shirt. He is a number 10. So I'd have him in there over João Felix if I was even going to start him. But I fancy João Felix in this game for some reason. And I might sound controversial here. I might upset a few here. But Mark Gue is a more natural number 9 than Christopher Nkunku. Christopher Nkunku is a way better player at this moment in time than Mark Gue, so don't get it twisted. I'm just saying Mark Gue's a more natural number 9 than Christopher Nkunku, okay? So I don't want to see Nkunku at number 9. I know he gets away with it in the Conference League, but I don't think it makes a massive difference. But saying that, he'll probably start in the number 9 now and go and score in this match. I don't doubt his goal-scoring capabilities, by the way. That is not what I'm downplaying when I say he's a number 9. I look at a number 9 of more of a target man, someone that's going to chase balls down with the actual incentivization to win them and the belief that they're going to win them, and someone who don't mind sticking their body on the line. And Nkunku's a little bit too classy for me, a little bit too silky to be able to do that. So like it or not, it's Nicholas Jackson. He is our best number 9 at the club. Now, either way, that is just how I would go. Okay, that's not necessarily how the manager's going to go. I wasn't actually surprised that I got the starting lineup right against Fulham, or at least Enzo Maresca agreed with me. As I always say, it's not predicted, it's just my preferred. But I would be shocked if I got this starting lineup right. Absolutely shocked. I think Madueke will probably actually play, to be honest. I think he'll come back into the fold. I reached out to, or some people reached out to me after I'd said it in the video. I've heard loads of stories about the Madueke thing, going out on the piss, training ground bust up, all this usual stuff. I appreciate people messaging, but I don't think it's that deep. I got told from the best source that I would trust, inside-ish sort of source, that Madueke and Renato Vega were late to a team meeting and they were both dropped. And do you know what? When you go and drop points, lose a game off the back of it, you kind of think, oh, should we have dropped them or whatever? But at the same time, I don't mind it. I like the ruthlessness that Enzo Maresca has shown at times. I think there's times where maybe he could be a little bit more ruthless with other players, and I won't start naming names, but yeah, I like the ruthlessness he's shown at times, and I'm all right with that. I am all right with that. It's an experimental lineup that I'd put out there, but it's one that could pay off and could open up a more attacking, or a new attacking avenue, I should say, for this Chelsea Football Club side. So, now we've got to go with a score prediction, and it's a hard one. It is a hard one for me to predict this match. I obviously think Chelsea are going to win. I'm just on about by how many goals, because when you look at Ipswich against the bigger sides, right? I know, what did Liverpool beat them? 2-0, wasn't it, on the opening day? I know Liverpool beat them 2-0, but they give Liverpool a good game. And I think Liverpool's goals came late on. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Arsenal beat them, 1-0? I think they beat Spurs, didn't they? I should have it up in front of me, really. They've drawn with quite a few sides. They've kept it tight. They've kept it tight enough. I can see him scoring a goal. Delat, maybe. Or Amari Hutchinson. Old Chelsea players always seem to score against us, don't they? I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea. I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea in this one. And we finish the year second in the table. And I think that this means, ladies and gentlemen, 98% of you gentlemen and you little 2% ladies out there, I think this means, although a lot of people tell me that all their missuses know my voice because they're listening to me on their phone when they're misses. I bet a few of you lot say it now in the comment section below. I get it, quite a few. They go, oh, my bird is your voice when they're listening to the podcast and whatnot. This is probably the last time I'm going to touch base with you this year, isn't it? I think it is. Definitely on the football channel, maybe not on the boxing channel. But either way, me and Josh... No, I think we're in on the 31st, to be fair, me and Josh. We'll upload a video that day, so we will get up technically this year. But what I wanted to say, either way, is that I hope you have all had a lovely year. I hope you've all had a really good time celebrating this, end of the year, Christmas and whatnot, New Year's Eve. I'm sure you've all got big plans and whatnot. And yeah, very, very grateful for everything you guys have done for me this year. And when you're watching this and you might see 110,000 subscribers, don't generalize it. I'm on about you watching right now, because every single one of you hardcore, you regular viewers, mate, you've helped change my life this year beyond measure. You know what I mean? At this point last year, I hadn't even had a Misfits fight, and I started podcasting with the love for Chelsea. But if I'm being completely transparent, the belief that I could do something I loved, grow it big enough, and at that point be able to resume what for me was like an unfulfilled boxing career, because I'd boxed unlicensed for years, and I always had the the hope to go professional and things like that and whatever, and I understood that it would rely heavily on sponsors and that I'd earn no money doing it, so I knew that I wasn't going to ever become like rich or anything by going professional as a boxer, but I had that desire. And then by starting this YouTube, you know, I've been able to, I'm technically a pro boxer because you box under pro licenses, but I'm not going to disrespect pro boxing like that. I've had the opportunity to fight on professional platforms, at least, you know what I mean, as an influencer boxer. Sick opportunities, and like, I just got to say, I hope this don't sound arrogant, the money's better sometimes in influencer boxing than it is in pro boxing, unless you're really, really good. And I wasn't really, really good enough to win a fucking European title, British title even, definitely not a world title, do you know what I mean? So the money I would have been earning would have been shit. So it's all worked out for the best, is what I'm trying to say. And it's worked out for the best because of you lot and all of the support you've given me from the start, but especially this year. We've grown massively. We hit 100k this year, and I hardly even speak about it now it's happened, because I'm getting that used to good stuff happening in my life, and that's mad. And I'm so thankful for you lot, because you're the reason that it is all happening, along with obviously the contribution of everyone else, Josh, Brian. But yeah, mad. It is really mad. Anyway, I'm going into one now. I'm getting all emotional. But either way, I just want you lot to know that I'm really appreciative of every single one of you. I will see you all for the post-match review once we have battered Ipswich and gone second in the table. See you all in the next one.